Thank you very much. Thank you for this invitation to speak in front of this particular audience. I was invited for the first time 2 years ago. It's a real pleasure for me to be invited once again. So I will focus my speech on 2 points. One, some very quick picture about the global dairy products market development, and then a focus about organic milk, organic dairy product, and its very quick development in the EU. So, sorry. What is impressive is the very linked development between consumption and production at the world level of in the milk economy. Sometimes production increases quicker than consumption, and we are obliged to stock milk powder in the EU, naturally, as everybody knows, but also in the US. And sometimes consumption increases quicker than the production, and we can destock the milk powder. But the main impressive development since the last 20 years, in fact, is the development of production, not in the EU, not in New Zealand, but above all in Asia. Global dairy product exchange, it's in value, this one, has increased quite quicker from 2009 to 2014. And from the last 4 years, it's pretty stable, in fact. It has increased last year, but mainly thanks to a rebound of commodity prices. And in terms of market share, at the world level, in value, the EU is the leader, then New Zealand, then you see US, etc. But the 3 leaders makes nearly 2/3 or supply 2/3 of the world market. And another very important figure is that the global world dairy products exchange was estimated last year at 45 billion euros. But inside the EU, the exchange are not less than 36 billion euros. So very important compared to the world exchanges, even if the world exchanges are increasing pretty quicker than the intra-EU exchanges. The main exporter at the world level, this is not in value, but now in tons. The first is New Zealand, the second the EU, the third the US, and the other one are very less important, in fact. And the first increase was in New Zealand, but mainly in the last 10 years or 20 years in the US, and less in the EU. At the beginning because of the dairy quota, but now there are not any more dairy quotas. You have 3 main exporters at the world level, but a very high number of importers. The main one is China, as everybody knows, and with a very sharp increase, but Russia is still on the market, even if mainly supplied by Belarus, and a very high number, in fact, of customers facing 3 main suppliers. And in terms of products, what is impressive is the stability, complete stability of butter exchange, and the very sharp increase of infant formula. Still an increase for cheeses, for whole milk powder, skim milk, not so much for whey powder in the last years. And another point of view, but the same reality, is the stabilization of fat matter exchanges at the world level facing still a high increase in proteins. In the last 10 years, fat metals exchanges have increased by 25%, but plus 50% for the proteins. This is a picture for cheeses. For cheeses, the EU is the leader with a very high number of customers. For whole milk powder is New Zealand, the same with a very important number of customers, even if China and Algeria are by far the leaders as customers for this kind of product. And now the focus about organic milk and dairy products in France and in the EU. You see, you know, the global EU logo, but it exists a lot of other logos that respect the EU basic specifications, but which can go further. For example, Demeter or many others inside the EU. This is the number of cows found as organic. You have, it's the figures for 2006, and you have the proportion, the share per country. The higher share is in Sweden, then in Austria, etc. What is quite impressive is the very far development in the last, let's say, 5 years, in fact, mainly. This is the figure for France for last year. Last year, 5.4% of dairy cows were raised as in an organic system. This is a number for beef cows. For dairy ewes, it's not less than 9%. It was not less than 9% last year, and 10%, etc. And for deliveries, you have almost the same figure, globally speaking, but with lower share, with Sweden, with Austria, Switzerland, France, etc. And now, Germany is the leader, then France, and then Denmark. And the evolution since the last 20 years, 20 years ago, Denmark was a leader for organic milk production in the EU. But the Danish production has been rather stable since 2015. And the quicker development was in the last few years in Germany first, in France, or even in Austria. And this is a perspective for this year, an estimation. The organic systems are quite different from one country to another. And they are more closer, in fact, they are closer, in fact, from the classical country conventional system than to other organic systems in the EU. For example, for Denmark, you have here the number of cows in conventional system, nearly 200 cows per farm as a mean. For the organic, it's a little less, but not so much, in fact. It's 170 cows per farm. In Germany, you have the same figures, etc. And for the milk per cow per year, in organic system compared to conventional system, that's the same figure, in fact. Quite close for organic system, little less, but quite close than for conventional system in the country, for example, in Denmark here, or in Austria. And the main driver for this organic milk production is naturally the gap of price paid for organic milk. Here you have the price in Germany for organic, much more stable, in fact, and the price for conventional milk, much more volatile, as everybody knows. The same in Austria, in Denmark, in France. It's more cyclical, in fact, but still with a quite high gap. Not so much in the years when conventional price is rather high. In fact, organic price seems to be quite stable, and the volatility is only or mainly on conventional price. What do we do with this organic milk? Mainly liquid milk, then processed, not so much cheese. For all, the organic milk is nearly 3%. In the EU, it was a figure for 2013. Mainly for organic milk, a little less for the other kind of product. In France, it was nearly a third for liquid milk, 8% for fresh dairy product, 20% for butter, 14% for cheeses, but 2 years ago, nearly 18% of organic milk was used to make conventional product, in fact, because the market was not sufficient to use all this organic milk. And where these organic products are distributed, you have here last year figure for France. For liquid milk, nearly 80% of organic liquid milk is sold in supermarkets, so the bigger part. But, for example, for the other dairy product, mainly fresh product or cheeses, the share of specialist organic shops is quite high. And even directly from farms to customers is not negligible because it was 14% last year. And for the food, the organic food global, the share of supermarkets is much lower. Nearly half of the organic food was sold through supermarkets, classical supermarkets last year, 35% through specialized organic shops, and nearly 20% directly from farmers to the consumers. What could be the perspectives? You have here a very important inquiry about nearly 30,000 people about the motivation of the consumers facing organic product. And you have 5 sociotypes of people with a very high share for organic product for what they called the bio-écolo. Very militant customers, in fact. But these militant customers only represent nearly 10% of the global French population through this inquiry, according to this inquiry. With the standard bio, who like organic product because first for their health, their own health, and also for another motivation, which is animal welfare, which is increasing everywhere through the EU, which seems to be more and more important for people and for the media too. And these people consume nearly, for all the food they bought, nearly 50% of organic product. But the bulk of the population is non-bio a priori. They can buy organic product, but they are not so motivated. And the organic product share is still very low in this kind of population. And this is where the organic consumption will increase in the next few years. According to Euromonitor, an inquiry last year, the increase for the organic product market as a whole will be 7% per year to 2021. So very, very important. And I will say another thing. Last year was voted a new law in France. And according to this law, through a number of different points, you have a minimum organic product to be consumed through collective catering. cafeteria, collective canteens, etc. It will be 20% in 4 years. It will be compulsory for all the canteen and the cafeterias which received subvention from local authorities. Thank you very much for your attention.